Hello and welcome back to Podcasting is Praxis. I'm David, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm James, my pronouns are they and them.
I'm Jamie, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm Rob, mine are he and him.
And I'm Alistair, my pronouns are also he and him.
It's a full house. Have we managed this year yet? Is this the first time we've done this?
Who has been
time.
checking?
Yeah. Everybody get your big Podcasting is Praxis spreadsheet out now and, mark your cards as appropriate and then, don't tell us about it. Just keep that shit to yourself, yeah? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Don't talk to us. Who the fuck do you think you are?
All right, Rob. Fucking hell.
It's a mood. I wrote the show notes and they put me in a mood.
Which is
a good one, I presume.
A prime indicator of how the rest of the episode's going to fucking go. Do you want to just fucking kick us off with the horrible?
Yeah, let us kick off. So essentially, it's not even a content warning. It's basically like the nuggets are full of very high blood pressure stuff, but then the main topic is just dumb shit. So if you feel like more high blood pressure in your life, keep listening now.
Inverse of last week.
Do you know, right? I'm literally coming off caffeine to try and lower my blood pressure before I do the test for my ADHD medication. Like, joy, I can't win. I can't fucking win.
Yeah, and then you did a podcast about UK politics. I don't know.
Yeah, and you also foolishly chose to live in the UK. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, maybe taking a sabbatical from the podcast and possibly the UK would be good for my blood pressure and might do more than coming off caffeine. That would be easier.
Yeah.
Go on then, Rob. Just spike my heart rate.
All right, so let's just kick off then. So we all know the Tavistock Centre, right? It's quite important for young people who need, trans care and medicine and all that stuff. The service that's already massively oversubscribed and has a waiting list measured in years, essentially, right?
Isn't it 4 years now?
Yeah, it's huge. I don't know what the exact wait is, but it's hugely long. So last July, NHS England, after I think it was called the CAS report, which was very critical of trans care for young people in general and how the NHS is running or essentially not running it. So last July, I think it was last July, NHS England announces that the sole provider of gender identity health services for kids and young adults in England, which is the Tavistock Centre, would be replaced. But mind you, this only affects trans care in England, not Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, who have their own services. But it will be replaced, they said, with something... I'm not going to go into,
No, it's fine. Technically correct is the best kind of correct.
Yeah. But the story I'm about to tell specifically refers to NHS England and not the other bits, hence and therefore. But so the replacement, the NHS England said, would be better. So there would be one new clinic in London and one somewhere in the northwest. Tavistock itself would close, and then these clinics would take over, and there'd be more people and better, etc., etc.
Am I jumping the gun in assuming they've just done one without doing the other?
Oh, Alistair, I hate it when you spoil the conclusion. There was a big piece, it came out today, I think, in Vice, written by Ben Hunt. Let me just read a little bit of it. There are no employees signed up to move. There is no trading for wider NHS staff, and our waiting lists are paused. The reality is that we have to accept that there is currently no NHS service for transgender young people. There is unlikely to be any service made available to them in the near future. This is according to one senior doctor I spoke to, and that's because the NHS is doing that thing where they say, oh, well, we'll close the thing, but they haven't, the people who work at Tavistock haven't been asked to move to the northwest or to this centre in London. Nobody's been, merged. There's been no mergers. There's no, transfer of stock or services or anything. It's literally nobody knows what's going on. And the answer, from what it looks like at least, is because there's no announcements, they may just shut down the Tavistock Centre without any replacement. And mind, the waiting list, the queue was at 5,000 people, 5,000 young people at the moment. And there's a not unrealistic chance that like young trans people will just receive absolutely no care because this heartless bastard of a shithole government, and presumably also Labour once Rosie fucking Duffield gets in, they'll just close it, and then they'll just be nothing. So like it's not being formally closed, not yet, because apparently by statute NHS, the local trust, I forget which one runs it, has to like send a formal piece of paper saying you have to close it, then it's 6 months and then it's shut. So like the Tavistock hasn't received that formal piece of paper, so they may not shut down, but they're also not building the new things that were promised. So whether or not there will be any trans care left for young people is completely unknown at the moment. I'm going to quote a little bit more from the same doctor that I was just quoting just a bit earlier. All I can really do now is wrap these trans kids up in cotton wool to get through these difficult years with no support, and then get them ready as early as possible into adult gender services when they hit 18. It's hard not to think that this was a deliberate act by NHS England, and they're deliberately hurting trans children for a political win.
What a normal sentence.
I mean, fuck's sake. This is just straight up political violence, right? This is, but like death by 1,000 cuts.
This is just placating like the worst freaks in the Daily Mail over the back of thousands of like kids and children. We don't need to go into the records of, self-harm and violence done to trans people overall, but like...
No, I'm going to be honest. I'm not joking, I'm not using hyperbole. This is step one of genocide.
Well...
I was going to say, this is cut from the exact same cloth as the attitude that this government and, broadly the next fucking Labour government is going to have against Gypsy Roma traveller people.
Or migrants and refugees for that fucking same matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's the exact same attitude of just make things shitty and awful, and just telling these groups of people, just die, just don't exist anymore, then we don't have to deal with you, even though these people are always going to exist, not for lack of trying on the part of our government. So...
I watched Philosophy Tube's video on like how difficult it was for her to get the right healthcare and to talk to the right people that she needed to get the care that she needed, and like that was for an adult with a platform and influence. So like, what are these poor kids supposed to do when they're 18? Because when they're 18, the situation is still fucked. Like it's
here's
wild.
a new queue to go to the back of.
Yeah, when they're 18, they go to the back of a new queue, which is, that's something. That's great.
Really, we
disgusting.
need to be taking everything. Everyone needs to be taking a leaf out of the Book of the French, right? Just like
have chocolate for breakfast.
I can't say anything like really funny or whatever about it. It's just disgusting, and what are you supposed to do in this country? Like now, what are you meant to do as a child or as a parent or as a loved one? Like
suffer.
How you
suffer? You're just supposed to suffer. That's the point.
Like, can you do you have to move? Like, can you move? Is that what we're going to? Do you need to go to a country where it's like not as fucking shit? Is that even? It's no. For most people, that's not even fucking possible.
If that is within your means to do so, I would highly recommend it, because you would, even if you did manage to get the care that you need or get onto the list for care that you need, you are still going to be receiving that care in this fucking country, which is destined to try and humiliate you for you being who you are. And worse.
It genuinely appalled me, and it kind of... I did see a lot of it today, of this story on Twitter or in other places, just because, I don't know, maybe it just kind of slipped under the wire because of all the other shit that's been going on. But yeah, like, it's just revolting. And also just to do it by this fucking, like, Wannsee conference style bureaucratic little trick, just to get it out on the table, just to... In the waning days of this shithouse administration that really doesn't want to do any fucking work except just like make the Daily Mail happy. It's disgusting, and I really hate it, and I find it difficult to talk about. And sorry, it's not a light introduction, but sometimes we have to, fucking do this. Anyway, that's lighthearted story number 1. Let's turn our attention to lighthearted story number 2. I promise you, there's more funnier stuff coming down the pipe in the episode. It's just some stuff we got to talk about because it's still life in Britain. The second thing is, I know, David, you've been posting this. Labour's been rolling out new policies, specifically how to get people with mental health issues and addiction issues back to work.
Oh boy, so they're going to start incorporating flexible working hours, much more lenient holiday and sick pay, much more accommodating pay. No, none of that.
Regulation on bosses or anything like that. No.
I mean, it's the proposal is that if Labour were to come in, that the DWP would work with treatment centres to help people find work. So I can't wait for the DWP to have more access to whatever data a treatment centre for whatever it is you're suffering has on you. I can't wait for that.
Oh
That'll
boy,
just make things better.
your indifferent doctor gets to tell the DWP worker who literally hates you, what's wrong with you? Fucking ace.
It would be better than that. I can guarantee you that the DWP, fucking the dental hygienist that they've hired to be like in charge of your healthcare or whatever through this, outranks your actual GP when it comes to any decisions being made.
Yeah,
there will be some bullshit along those lines. It already works like that with the fucking work capability assessments.
I can go one better than this. My brain is on fire. My third eye is opened. I'm tuned into a spirit of Britain's id. It's disgusting. And here we are. What's going to happen is the DWP is going to get in touch with your mental health care provider who's currently treating you because you're suffering severe depression and other problems because you're suffering from gender dysphoria, and they're going to see if they can get you into work as an untreated trans person because there's no provision for you in the country. That's where that's it.
Anyway, this is this is in the words of Shadow DWP and noted fucking snake Jonathan Ashworth. If you can support people in the first weeks or couple of months of worklessness because of ill health, you are more likely to help those people return to work than when they've been out of work for the last 2 years. But that's what's happening for the moment. This government has written off a generation. So, your quest for work should start right at the beginning of your treatment.
This stupid cunt is just saying that, if you look at the numbers, it turns out people who are only out of work for a couple of weeks get back into work faster than people who are out of work indefinitely. Well done, brain genius.
The numbers don't
lie.
What,
if they want to help people into work and improve their mental health, they should pay them
to remain peaceful.
I agree.
I mean, look, overall, this is not to say that, if you have an addiction or a mental health condition, if you want to work or you want to do volunteer work or you want to, perform some role in society of whatever it is you're choosing, you should be able to do that. You should be supported in the things that you want to do. But, let's trust Jonathan fucking Ashworth and Keir Starmer about this, right?
Well, no fucking government has ever done that, though, have they? It's always just they always say they're going to fucking support people. What they actually mean is they're just going to fucking push you into a skip and burn you for fuel.
I mean, he says it's a piece in the Guardian. He does say, look, that right now the services for addiction and mental health are totally underfunded, and that should be done properly. He's like,
are they pledging to fucking fund them? Are they?
Well, I saw.
I don't hear
good
that.
Lord, no.
I don't hear that. What I hear is that the numbers show that if you're out of work for a short amount of time, then the economy likes you more than if you're fucking.
No, there is actually something in the article about how they would change the way that the funding works. And there's too much of a competition thing behind it. But
they'll stick it on their Google Pay rather than their fucking credit card. There we go.
Excuse me a second. I'm just picking up my briefcase with a big red rosette on it. And how's this for one? How about they take the people who are mentally ill and they send them via the job centre to work placements and then use the payments from the companies for those work placements, which are subsidised by the government, to pay for restoring the mental health services. So you work to get your fucking, CBT treatment.
Man, we're really into feed the homeless to the hungry territory, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things as well in this is that they make it sound like they're actually being quite clever and sensible and are listening, because they acknowledge that work capability assessments are bad things that people shouldn't.
Well,
be going
who
through.
fucking came up with those?
Yeah, well, the whole thing here is that they should try and get rid of that. We should reform those away, and just like you can go back to work. But the idea is
with the new assessment of work capability.
No, listen, it's worse than this. The idea is that if you go back to work, and it turns out you're not ready to go back to work, you can just go straight back onto the benefit you were on before because you weren't ready. So in other words, what that means is they've turned that into a full-on trial by fucking fire. They're going to push you to go back to your work when you're not fucking ready to, in the middle of a mental health crisis, so that you can then have a public fucking meltdown in your place of work, surrounded by your fucking peers and colleagues, only to then come back out and go, well, I feel better. That was definitely a positive step on the road to recovery.
Thank you, Keir Starmer, for my participation trophy in the world of work.
Is fucking Jonathan Ashworth pledging that under Labour, if you're mentally ill and the job centre sends you to a job and then you flake out and you come back, are you allowed to headbutt the guy at the job centre when he asks why you left the job?
Well, actually, he tries to head off the pass on this criticism. I'll just read you a little bit for the Guardian. Ashworth said he rejected any accusation that the scheme would force people into jobs when they could not work. For too long, people have been forced into humiliating...
For too long, people have been asking me questions already answered by my shirt.
Into humiliating assessment processes, and we are committed to reforming those processes. Yeah. But helping people into good quality work will be an overwhelming ambition of the next Labour government.
Right, so we don't want to force people back into work, but what we are doing is making it a lot easier for you to be forced back into work because there isn't like a barrier at the other end of that.
Do you know
what they're going to do? They're going to do to reform the work capability assessment is have it performed by like 2 fucking alternative therapy specialists instead of just 1 like it is currently.
Do you know what I'm picturing?
No, it'll be 1 and ChatGPT that will also think you're Hitler by the end of it.
Do you know what I'm picturing here? I'm picturing... Remember, Jamie, you told us the story of how you went to that place, they missold you the position, and then eventually you binned it off and came back, and then the guy who employed you had to fill out a form, basically, and he fucking lied and said a bunch of shit, and then you got to write a reply. I'm just picturing it's going to be that. They're going to send you back to a job, but then they're going to get the job to fill in a form to ask, well, were they actually unsuited to work? What did you see? So that your boss is going to be ruling on your mental health. That is the shape of this thing. Guaranteed, nailed on.
Headbutt your boss. That's my solution.
There's not going to be any actual regulation or standards enforcement or anything like that when it comes to how you're actually treated in the workplace by these people that will potentially have some sort of fucking say over how you interact with the DWP. So that's very fucking cool. Very new Labour of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, weirdly, at the exact same time...
do you remember when the fucking Obamacare and the right wing were all shitting their pants about death panels that we had on the NHS?
Yeah.
They'll probably just bring those in, but one of the guys on the panel will be a circus clown, so you're at least happy about it. You know, it seems a bit it brings a little bit of joy to the fucking panel ruling me fit to work.
Putting a fucking circus clown on the death panel, so you can be like those firing squads in World War I, so that you never know who actually fired the bullet that killed you.
Unless it's a little flag with "bang" written on it.
Yeah.
Consoling you with a balloon animal shaped like a diazepam. Great.
I only wish to be consoled with a giant spy balloon, if I'm fairly honest. Weirdly, though, the government is focusing on this exact same group of people. Well, they're doing 2 things. They're concerned about the labor participation rates. So if you're over 50, you get nice treats and tax rebates if you want to do some more work and you've retired early. But if you're a universal credit claimant, then you're going to get something else happen to you. I think we talked about this in a previous episode. So now 600,000 universal credit claimants will need to meet a work coach to increase hours or earnings, and otherwise guess what's going to happen to your universal credit. And this was there was a good column on this by Francis Ryan in The Guardian. stay-at-home mums whose partners receive universal credits could be blitzed with an ad campaign to get them into the labour market.
Fucking blitz. British people should not be allowed to use the word blitz anymore.
Get better.
So what you're saying is these people who are on universal credit need to increase their hours or increase their pay, but absolutely no striking.
Yeah. No, of course not. Like,
okay, just so we're
why
clear.
are you inconveniencing me in my tweets, Alistair? What's wrong with you?
Oh, man,
why do you hate Britain?
That just making me think of the most infuriating thing anyone ever says online, which is just get a better paying job.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Alistair. That's not likely to happen because anyone that's on universal credit is very, very unlikely to be in a position where they've actually managed to get a job as secure as having a union and some sort of like representation. It's just going to be dog shit insecure work that they can't even.
Yeah, it'll just be Amazon
about.
Prime. You'll be in the Amazon warehouse or equivalent thereof.
But what the interesting thing here is there's two separate things going on here which are quite fascinating. Because the whole push to universal credit was basically if you combine the benefits into one, then you get to do a kind of sleight of hand whereby you can cut benefits to people who would be politically unpopular to gut. And people won't notice because they'll think it's all like, job seekers and things like that, when actually you're hurting disabled and various others. Then the second part, and the real impetus behind this, is long COVID. They're staring down the barrel and getting really fucking worried about the amount of a workforce, not that's just like straight up died or dropped out, due to change in life circumstances, but to the number of people who are fucking getting actually disabled from long COVID, and it's seriously impacting on their ability.
I mean, I don't know if
it's
just long COVID. Like, it's just a series of shit. If it's just like there's any series of things of people being.
It's something like 1 in 4 or 1 in 3 people are disabled. Like working age people are disabled. Like to some extent or another, like it's, and but, yet obviously the government hates people who say actually working is not as straightforward as just getting on the train and commuting into London every day for my £70,000 a week fucking column job.
But it's just
I'm glad you mentioned the columnist, Alistair, because of course this plan was something that the Daily Mail and other papers were very much in favour of. The Daily Mail called this a plan to fight the epidemic of inactivity, while the fucking Sun called for single mothers to be dragged off benefits.
I mean, once again, aren't we at like in the history of humanity high levels of productivity?
I mean, Britain isn't, but but Britain.
I mean, the fucking Daily Mail and the Sun aren't. I'll tell you that much for nothing.
I mean, Britain has historically always had like shit productivity per hour. Like that's like one of the big problems that's like structural and baked into the cake. But it's not going to be solved by this shit, like.
Even then, productivity of what? Producing what?
Transphobia.
I don't know. It's like productivity per hour. It's like if you take the
money
GDP,
nonsense.
It's just economy. Money is as always fake and not real. Except
we don't make anything. It's a fucking bullshit surface economy that's like completely fucking built on lies and hope.
We make the world a worse place. And we're very fucking good at it. Thank you very much.
We are very good at that.
That's true. Yeah. You are very, very good at that.
Jamie podcasting from the top of Silicon Mountain.
Manufacturers of the finest hope sinks in all of the European continent. Stick one of these on, it'll suck off all your excess hope. No problem at all.
Well, I mean, in terms of that, so one more quick nugget, and then we'll get on to the main bit. This is via the Nottingham Post and the Daily Record. So in response to some parliamentary questions from Beth Winter, who's a Labour MP, the DWP has confirmed that it does indeed stop PIP payments after 28 days in hospital. And that's because the DWP says, well, after 28 days, you've been getting food and shelter from hospitals, so you don't need us to pay for you. But don't worry.
As we all know,
give you fuck all in the way of PIP anyway.
Yeah,
well,
but
none of it's meant to pay for food. It's like fucking mobility, isn't it?
No, and as we all know, the second you pass across a hospital's threshold, the landlord is no longer asking you for rent. So
no,
makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, a hospital is kind of like a church. As churches are to vampires, so hospitals are to landlords. Everyone knows that.
I like the idea of a landlord just like hissing teeth bad at like the entrance to an A&E. Although this does bring to mind like the glorious side benefit of it is that if a landlord has a heart attack, they can't bring him to a hospital.
No, but unfortunately, once they're dead, if you sprinkle some blood on them, they spring back to life.
I imagine landlords are just like a constant menace at hospitals. They have to just keep sweeping them out with a broom because they're in there trying to measure the place for flats.
Someone leaves a door open to get some better ventilation. They just scurry in.
Yeah, I mean, it's just look. It's only big. The PIP payments apparently do restart, but only at the very date of your discharge. It doesn't end your overall entitlement to one. But don't worry about it because according to current DWP minister and Tory cunt Tom Purseglove, no idea.
That is a fucking name.
Yeah, I haven't looked him up. I'm willing to bet that his parents have like our blue marked on Wikipedia.
It's a cadet branch of Moneycoots.
No, but he said it's fine because he said the DWP has no evidence that the policy may affect an individual's decision to seek medical care. So,
do you know what's fun? The number of times the DWP has lied about the horrendous effects its policies have had on the people that actually are meant to like interact with them to receive like benefits, PIP, things like this. Because pretty much every time it's, oh yeah, our policies have awful effects and cause people to go into destitution, to starve to death, to freeze to death, things like this. And there's mountains of evidence, but obviously the DWP doesn't ever want to have this evidence see the light of day if they can help it. So they just work with the fucking Daily Mail and so on to put out articles saying that, you know, people who are benefiting from PIP and things like that just need to go back to work. Simple.
So anyway, as I said, that's the nuggets over and done with. I hope you're still with us. Take some time, take a breather if you need. But as I said, there's lighter stuff coming up. Now, who wants to talk about our armed forces and the various things that they have been involved with over the last couple of weeks?
Yes.
What have they done this time?
Is that a microwave I'm hearing in the background there? I'm pretty sure that's a microwave interfering with the microphone there. Sure is.
So anyway, for our main topic, I thought we should look at some old friends, some previous contestants on this here podcast, and see how they're getting on with things. And let's start with
I love clip shows.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start with the aircraft carriers. You might recall that last year during the summer we talked about our Britain's second non-nuclear...
Oh, these were the ones that were like fucking gremlins, weren't they? You can't get them wet.
Yes, exactly. That was the F-35s because they still lose their special coating if they get too wet. And you might recall that, like the Prince of Wales,
furry stealth planes. Get them wet, all the fur fucking flattens out and doesn't deflect the radar.
You might recall that the Prince of Wales, which is the second one of our non-nuclear aircraft carriers, kind of fell apart last summer. And it couldn't go on its big training exercise. And there was like a mechanical fault, but we didn't quite know what it was. But somebody at the Telegraph a few days ago has finally figured out what the mistake was. And I'm sure you're going to be shocked.
Put the doors on backwards.
Close enough. What they did is they misaligned both the starboard and the port side prop shafts, which is quite bad.
Did they put the starboard on the port and the port on the starboard? Is that what they did? Because that'd be the most on-brand.
This is really important. Rob, this is really important. Does this mean that those ships have a vibration issue?
Well, Alistair, I'm glad you asked. Let me read you from the Telegraph. This can cause the shaft to vibrate beyond its design tolerance.
Oh, fuck that. I'm not joining the army. Have you heard about that Ajax trouble? Fuck me, no, it's the Navy for me. They can't vibrate you to death if there's no ground to rattle you against.
Weird, I'm getting a phone call from a podcast right now?
It can wear out the
First
bearings.
Royal Hitachis.
Yeah, and
They're gonna phase this like out of reality and just recreate the Philadelphia experiment on.
Hitachi-induced Philadelphia experiment is definitely a bit I'm here for.
Oh, fucking hell.
they should have just built like a really big simian to land the F-35s on.
Oh, do you know what? They really need to go for the hat trick of getting the F-35s vibrating the shit out of the pilots. I hope they do that as well.
I hate that I know this, but Alistair, guess what was one of the first production issues with the F-35?
I am wrapped right now.
Turbulence issues around the aerofoils.
I just need to Google this. Oh, it turns out turbulence is a kind of vibration.
Yeah, it's funny that.
Apparently, if it vibrates beyond its design tolerances, the bearings wear out, and in some extreme cases, a coupling on the shaft itself can break, which is what happened last year to the HMS's Prince of Wales starboard shaft last September. And just as a brief reminder,
What they should just do is replace the propeller with Tom Clancy spinning in his grave.
I wish Tom Clancy. In fact, hang on a second. So the Tom Clancy estate still like pimps out his name to people to write like modern bullshit under, right?
yeah,
What is the Tom Clancy propaganda for like the F-35 and the Ajax like? That must be a fascinating read.
No, it won't be. It'll just work.
actually, you'll
That'll be
find,
it.
if I may dig into my shameful past as a reader of Tom Clancy books, is that in his second book, and I want to say it's called Red Storm Rising, he already predicts the existence of stealth aeroplanes, which are used to blow up bridges across the Elbe to stop the Soviets advancing into Western Germany. Anyway, that's your massive... I'll see myself out. If I'm still allowed to be back next week, then, you know...
But
See
were
you
you
then.
allowed to get those stealth planes wet?
Unfortunately, Tom Clancy doesn't mention that.
No, Tom Clancy got wet from them though.
So apparently the same problem of like the exploding starboard shafts did not occur on the Queen Elizabeth, which suggests either better engineering or at least better quality control, because it's mentioned in the article. They're like, yeah, what usually happens with Army quality control is like the first one they really like they check quite carefully, or at least the Navy does, because you know the Ajax. But with the second one, everybody just kind of assumes like, yes, all right, it's fine, don't worry about it. Like they must have nailed this the first time around, so there can't be any problems. You know, not that this piece of shit costs like £3 billion to just build, never mind run. However, stay with the Navy for a second, because this is not the only amazing story in the Navy, or indeed in the Telegraph for the last couple of weeks. So, because there's an inquiry going on into like armed forces procurement overall, which I'm desperate to read the conclusions of. So, HMS Vanguard, which is one of the fancy new Trident submarines, the nuclear powered, deterrent that's supposed to carry our nuclear missiles around. It's had a bit of a problem with its nuclear plant, and specifically the cooling pipes. And you might ask, well, what was going on? And apparently what had happened is one of the bolts of the cooling system had snapped off, and instead of like taking it out and replacing it, an engineer at the defense contractor, a company called Babcock, just glued the bolt back together and just stuck it back on.
Oh, I love a botch job.
In like an undersea nuclear power plant. This is incredible.
Yeah, fuck it. As long as water/steam is going in the right direction, who gives a shit?
That is peak British Armed Forces shit, though. So yeah, fair enough. It's nice to see the private sector taking the lead from the public sector for a change.
I mean, it was really funny because the Telegraph was citing Ben Wallace, the Armed Forces Minister, and he was like, I had a strong phone call with the CEO of Babcock saying this bad. And it's like, all right then, cool.
Well, I can only imagine the guy at Badpot going, like, what are you going to do about it, bitch boy?
Yeah, do you have the design specs? Are you legally allowed to look at the design specs for your own nuclear submarine? I didn't think so. Why don't you get the fuck out of here?
Are you even legally allowed to speak to me? I don't think so.
Yeah. But you'll be pleased to hear that at least some heads have sort of rolled. So the former general in charge of the Ajax program has stepped down as a sort of by way of apology. Now, I say former general because he was working for General Dynamics at the time, who's had quite an amazing career track. This is from the Telegraph. His last job was as procurement director of land equipment at the MOD. In which capacity, I think in 2011 or 15, he signed the actual contract agreement with General Dynamics to deliver the Ajax. He left 3 years later in 2018, went to work first for BAE Systems, then at another company making armored vehicles based in Abu Dhabi, and then landing at General Dynamics Land Systems, and then where he was put in charge of overseeing the contract he himself had signed with the MOD a few years later.
Yes. Oh, we love to see them actually both sowing and reaping.
That is quite special, yeah. I mean, it's just incredible. Like, I'm sure there was like some weird like government cool-off period that says, okay, for 2 years you can't work for like contracts that you were involved in. And so, like, I imagine the second those 2 years were over, General Dynamics just came by and said, "Would you like a job? We have a position on an issue you may be familiar with."
I mean, you got to hand it to the guy. It's pure genius to start a project that will go on ad infinitum, and just give himself a job for life. Like you sign that contract with General Dynamics, you fuck off on holiday for 2 years or whatever, and then just come right back in, walk through the fucking revolving door between the private sector and the public sector, and just...
It really is. That's the zenith of making an indecipherable spreadsheet only you can use.
I mean, it's slightly less complicated than that, actually, because, and again, this is from the Telegraph, and this podcast does not wish to libel or cast aspersions on his reputation, but apparently it was a very unusual contract for the Ajax, where General Dynamics was paid like a lot of money, cash money up front, which is really
no one
unusual.
is allowed to look upon the Ajax, to touch the Ajax, to think about the Ajax without his express permission.
We're back into the fucking machine cult of the God Emperor with this, because it's, like,
what's with all this incense?
Yeah, the Ajax is too holy. You immortalize me, not peer upon it. Mainly because it will be microwaved.
General Void Dragon brackets retired.
And apparently there's like a separate inquiry, a full-on inquiry going on into the Ajax at the moment. And I still don't know if that's going to be like made unredacted available to the public. But I genuinely hope God that it is. Because I love our beautiful boy. It's my favorite thing. But don't worry,
he's the fucking mascot at this point. Mr. Blobby riding an Ajax. That's what it is. That's the fucking mascot.
This is the future leftists want.
It fucking well is.
But I don't want you to worry too much about the state of our armed forces, though, because it's been a real humdinger of a policy week for Labour. The Shadow Defence Secretary Dennis Healy's been out and about, saying that essentially, don't worry, BAE Systems, don't worry, General Dynamics. When we get into power,
we still love you. We still want to get back together.
Little bit more than that, actually. So he said that Labour would continue to arm Ukraine at a price, I presume. But he's really worried that like the UK's own stockpile of like guns and bullets and missiles is running low as a result.
Oh,
and I know.
Fuck off. Sorry, like this is the most. Does anyone know what the NATO standard ammunition is?
It's 7.62 millimeter rounds, right?
It's not actually, it's 5.56 millimeter, but
Oh,
it's
damn
a
it.
NATO standard because all the NATO countries use the same stuff. If we ever run out of bullets, we can just take some of America's. They have a lot of them. That's the whole point of the NATO fucking standard. So it should never really be much of a concern that we are running out of fucking ammunition. It doesn't matter. In any real scenario, we would have them.
He was specifically referencing, I think they're called the N-Law rockets, which I'm
What
assuming
now?
is some kind of... I don't know, N-LAW. I think that's what they're called. I can't remember. I don't.
Oh, right,
know.
yeah, okay, yeah. That's a
The,
rocket
the
system.
in-law
Yeah. Again,
rocket launcher.
yeah,
So he was, of course, being...
It's,
Just
This is
fires
all- it's just
1990s
bullshit.
bits at you.
yeah, none of this is... Basically, my point is, none of this is actually a strategic concern. It is purely a financial concern for private businesses that operate in the arms trade.
Yeah, of course, he was. Dennis Healy was, of course, being interviewed in the Telegraph, that natural home of the Labour Party. There is an immediate need for a stockpile strategy to sustain support for Ukraine and rearm Britain, or our armed forces could be left short. Now, of course, the first question I have is the UK about to be invaded? Are Chinese weather balloons heading over here right
No,
now?
Rob,
But
we're
manned?
about to start a ground war with Russia. That's what we're about to do.
Oh yeah, of course. I forgot. I
No, we're
forgot
not.
we were about to do a land war.
Sorry, right, hang on, right. I'm not having this on the pod. That is wildly optimistic. We're not about to start ground war with Russia.
Optimistic.
Yeah, we are. I'm sorry. We can't have a ground war with Russia now. It's not close enough to winter.
The tactical time to invade Russia.
Exactly.
So
If it's good enough for Napoleon, it's good enough for us.
I'm glad you said Napoleon there. Mr. Healy added that such a strategy would gear up domestic industry to ensure it operated on urgent operational footing. What that means is, he said, you set aside some of the requirements and rigid rules that make procurement in defense so often protracted and often wasteful, he said. See, the problem with procurement and the MOD so far, as we know, is that there's just too many rules and you can't get anything done. That's
yeah,
why
Dan, the
there's
problem.
waste.
The problem with getting a Challenger tank is the fucking paperwork. Honestly,
Well,
Actually,
apparently,
no,
and
sorry,
this
I'm
is-
coming round on this. I agree with that. That's true.
Well, I mean, you say tanks, but apparently Labour might order us some nice new tanks as well, because we've given some away to the Ukrainians. So we've only got 148 Challengers tanks left, which is down from 225 or something a couple of years ago. So we need more main battle tanks. And who better to order more land warfighting equipment than the British government? I can't see any problem with that. Oh, wait. There was a program. I'm trying to remember what it was. That was supposed to replace the armored fighting capacity and be the spearhead for the British armed forces into 20... I can't remember what that program... Nah, it's escaped me. Anyway, so
I don't
yeah.
think we covered it, Rob. Sorry.
And and the other thing is, like, so we're building these stupid vanguards, right? Where they just glued the bolts back together inside the nuclear reactor and don't worry about it. Like, if we need more tanks and bullets, why do we also need a nuclear deterrent? Can we not? I thought the whole point of the British, grand strategy overall is the defense of the homelands is essentially, well, we have nuclear weapons, and whether or not you can fire them without US permission is a discussion in and of itself. But like, why do we need these stupid fucking tanks and other shit? Like, are we apart from our winter invasion of Russia, of course? Like, why do we need it?
The submarine bolt thing is actually a response to the fact that we can't fire our own nukes. All you need to do is just take an empty submarine near Russia, just park it off the coast, and just let the reactors slowly build up heat until it finally goes critical.
Oh my god, are you talking about aquatically, offensively doing a Chernobyl to Russia?
Yes.
Amazing. Yes.
Yanks can't stop us.
I like the idea of like a sort of Russian-inspired James Bond, where like they defuse the British nuclear submarine with 7 seconds left to spare. I think that'd be kind of cool.
just by a guy coming on with a fucking drill.
No, a guy coming on with like a full set of kit and doing repairs to the reactor. It's like it's those fucking abseiling plasterers, Black Ops team, except it's like a fucking nuclear engineer deployed just to, could you fix it? Oh, I see your problem here, mate. Now this bolt, you shouldn't be gluing this. Just like, hammering
Entire
noise
British
and it's
war
all
effort
fine.
offset by some Russian guy with a hod.
And also, like in terms of the other stuff that we talked about on previous episodes about the strikes and people not being paid, I couldn't help but notice that Liz Kendall was out again this week saying, well, we can't give anybody a pay rise. We have to grow the economy first, and then we can pay people, not the other way around, because it doesn't work that way. But in the same week, it's like, oh yeah, no, we have infinity money to buy more new horseshit for the MOD. Like, those two things go very well hand in hand, as it appears.
That's weird how one of paying for one of those things would generate negative Daily Mail headlines, whereas the other one will generate positive Daily Mail headlines. Curious.
Huh. Odd.
It's like you're in the room with me, Robert.
It's best not to think of these things.
Anyway, that was the first check-in I wanted to do. Everything's still going very well at the MOD. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit more about, this is a very, very deep cut to a very old episode, but I wanted to talk a little bit about crypto UK and Britcoin as well.
I thought all crypto was dead. I thought
No.
it all just like fallen into a big hole.
No, you'd think so, with all the, everything being scams and very stupid and everybody losing their money and, wails and cries of despair and things of that nature. The UK, the Bank of England and
Listen,
the Treasury...
no, Rob, sorry. Rob, we've been operating free market capitalism for how many fucking years? Quite clearly, those are not barriers.
So apparently the UK Treasury and the Bank of England are insisting on going ahead with a strategy that they call, that they say will...
The greatest strategy of all time.
To transform the UK into a hub for the crypto industry.
Yes.
I'm just gonna look at how Bitcoin's doing right now.
Quite well, apparently. I think they should be up again. I was reading about it today. Anyway, so the new rules, or the prospective rules that will be put in place, would make crypto lenders and like market makers, so companies, let's say like FTX or something, take more responsibility for consumer money. And that would essentially stop stuff like Celsius and FTX, where the exchanges just like sluiced customer money into their own investment funds, etc. This is rubber piece in the FT. Customers should be adequately warned of the risks, and retail funds should be ring-fenced. To which I ask, if they can't do scams, can the crypto economy make money? And I...
That's a rather large question mark.
But don't worry about it. The Financial Conduct, this is again from the FT, the Financial Conduct Authority has found a very clever way around this, because apparently they have been given supervision of crypto asset businesses for a while now, but only from anti-money laundering perspectives since January of 2020. And this is despite, more that about 85% of all applicants are unable to meet like even the City of London's like minimum standards for you shouldn't be able to launder money through whatever crypto company it is you're running. But the 15% that do, this is incredible. So this is only in terms of you shouldn't be a straight up like money laundering front. If you pass that test set out by the FCA, you will soon be able to temporarily be permitted to promote your services. So you're going to get more crypto ads in the UK of the 5 companies that are big scams, but are just not, maybe are not involved in money laundering. I don't know the depths of the test, but I'm going to say that they're probably not that deep, because if the UK ever got serious about not allowing money laundering in its financial systems, the financial system would fucking collapse.
Oh, this all sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, but it's all good news though, because Crypto UK, which is the lobbying body for crypto services for the UK, says that they love this bespoke exemption from a de facto ban on doing crypto ads in the UK.
I mean,
and we all love it.
You're going to have to be a special kind of deranged lunatic to be the guy who lobbies for crypto. Like, a fully bought in, like, GM fucking FUD spouting piece of shit, right?
No, I think the people who do this seriously are, like, mercenary as fuck.
Paid in real money.
Yeah, they're paid in very real money. You know, it's like that bit from what is again like the Wolf of Wall Street or something, where it's like, no, the people making the trades are idiots. We just cream off a little bit in the middle, and like that's these guys.
I'm just picturing. So I've seen from The Wire season 2, where the guys who are helping the international drug cartel get like their ingredients for processing cocaine, and just after they make delivery, the guy takes them aside and goes, "Nico, if you want, I pay you in money. If you prefer, I pay you in cocaine." I'm just picturing that entire thing, but it's, if you want, I pay you in money. If you prefer, I pay you in crypto. No, take the money, mate. Just the money. The money is absolutely fine. You're okay. Happy with the money, but you could get much bigger returns. Nope, money's fine. That's okay.
Also, like, I haven't, like, overlooked the idea that, like, a lot of the big crypto companies, including all the ones that have, like, exploded, have been based in, like, the Bahamas, the British Virgin Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, like, all these British, like, parts of, like, the constellation of tax havens that surround the UK. So I just read the book, the Nicholas Jackson book. It's really good, by the way. You should read it, called Treasure Islands. So, like, that if they're all based... Those are all based in, like, British Commonwealth Islands and tax haven, essentially in tax havens, British-run tax havens. And my suspicion is that, like, by opening the door to this and by setting up, like, a regulatory authority to oversee crypto, that, like, they'll just be allowed to move from, like, the very offshore bits to closer to the onshore bits and finally end up in the city of London, which can only end up well, I think, for everybody in the UK. I think that's I think it'll be really good, and I can't see anything bad happening with that ever.
Yeah, probably.
Actually, I've been asleep for like 2 years. Is my Bitcoin still worth a lot? I got all these Bored Apes that I bought for like a fucking fortune a year ago. I assume that I'm still very rich.
Not exactly, but you do get to play a video game where you fly a jet into a fucking sewer pipe. So, it's pretty rad.
Oh, that sounds pretty good,
going to be
actually.
a building.
Also, if nothing else, and this is sort of a broader point of all this, is like, if you want to introduce regulation to make the UK the hub for the crypto industry, I thought the whole point of crypto was that it is deregulated, that the whole point is you don't do it. Like, you just leave it alone, that the whole dream was to be liberated of...
Rob. No. At the start, it's deregulated so you can do scams. But when the bottom falls out of the market, it needs to be regulated so you can get sweet, sweet central bank state backing. Come on, man. Get with it.
Yeah, damn. I keep forgetting that. It's stupid. Anyway, so from one coin to another, I really thought this was dead because we talked about this again ages ago with an episode with We Don't Talk About the Weather on it. Britcoin, it's still alive, it's still a thing, and it is coming sooner than you might think to like an idiot near you. I was genuinely shocked that this was still like a thing. So this is apparently in response to what the Bank of England has said is a faster than expected rise in private cryptocurrencies, so Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, etc. So the Bank of England is speeding up its own process of creating a Britcoin framework. And these might be available by the end of the decade. So by around 2030, you, the average British citizen, should be able to transact in Britcoin.
Why?
10 out of 10 for delivery.
Well, Alistair, basically, Britcoin would be an electronic-only currency, so there'd be no notes, no coins, etc. And it would essentially be what the Bank of England calls a digital pound.
It
would be
like, okay, Rob, hold on, bear with me one moment, because I have a few thoughts.
Go for it.
Am I wrong in thinking that the pounds that are in my bank account are, if you will, a digital pound? Or pounds?
That's very possible.
Those are backed. Those are backed. Entirely just a mere digital representation of some gold. That's how that works.
No, oh
Isn't
god,
it?
it's so dumber than
Isn't
that.
it?
It's so dumber than that. No, it's not a gold-backed economy. Instead, it is a.
Oh, no.
It is an economy based on a floated currency that isn't pegged to any material like gold, etc. But, Alistair, the made-up banknotes that is our economy and our currency, your bank does have a fraction of the amount in your bank account held in reserve, unlike crypto, which would have no fractional reserve.
So
No,
less
I
is
mean-
more.
Yes. Except not really.
Look, so the Britcoin would be electronic cash that's issued by the Bank of England. So very unlike
Again, Rob, I'm getting real vibes here. Like I've been here before.
No. Like I can see your confusion, Alistair. Right? You're thinking, hang on, the Bank of England issues notes to the banks that are essentially reserve currency as a lender of last resort, and that's how money is theoretically introduced into the economy, right? And I can understand how you confuse that with the Bank of England issuing cryptocurrency as a lender of last resort.
It's
But
not.
the thing
It's
to
not
understand-
necessarily cryptocurrency. It's just based on crypto standards for safety and stuff. But it is a digital pound, and like, but
I can
England,
understand though, right? I can understand how Alistair would be confused, but the thing to understand about the difference is
that the Bank of England wouldn't give you these Britcoins, these digital currencies, directly. They would provide a private company with them. Let's say like a sort of an institution that takes in money and then lends them out and then does some money creation, and there's a whole system behind it, like loans and stuff.
I think, Rob, and I'm no expert, but I think that might be called a bank.
Yeah, but this time it's something very new. Is you would get your electronic cash in your digital wallet, which is maintained between you and a private company. And what you could do is you could spend this money like right there on your phone for just like regular everyday online purchases, and you could easily transfer this money to like friends and family. This Britcoin, this whole new thing.
they might even
feel-
give you a card with like some kind of secure kind of scanning thing on it that you can use.
It's possible.
And, like,
I mean, the
Yeah.
technological.
I can't help but feel, but that my initial question of why has remained unanswered.
Well, I just want to make sure that before we get on to the whys, that you understand that the digital pound, the Britcoin, would, according to The Guardian, be interchangeable with cash and bank deposits. And as with the current system of cash and notes, it would be denominated in pound sterling. But it's a digital pound. It's a Britcoin. It's really important that you understand
I cannot
this.
overemphasize how digital this pound is.
It can be digitally exchanged for goods and services.
Exactly. And
Wow, it's really starting to make sense now.
Think of it like it's a pound, but either you've got it or you don't have it. It's a 1 or a 0. That's the way to kind of look at it.
But what it would also do, and this is where the sting in the tail might actually be, is the Britcoin, which is a whole new currency, would combine traditional finance with new finance, including stable coins and online-only banks like Monzo and Revolut. Now, I love it when
Banks
my
already
state...
exist. What?
Yeah, but this time they will be able to interface with stable coins, and stable coins interface with unregulated currencies like Bitcoin. Wouldn't that be great if like we made a new British currency asset that was like more opened up and easier to connect into the Bitcoin supply, where everything I've been asleep for like a year or two, so I think I could sell now my Bored Ape that I got off Seth Green for a really good deal. I think I could sell that then to your Britcoin wallet in a couple of years, when I'm assuming it's worth even more money than it is today.
I've got another important question, Rob, and it's weighing heavily.
Yes.
Can I use the Britcoin to untraceably buy drugs?
No. See, there's the problem, because the Bank of England will maintain the central ledger.
Well, that's
So-
not ideal.
You know, you would be able to buy drugs. It just wouldn't be untraceable. It would indeed be very traceable.
It's all the convenience of using crypto with none of the drawbacks of buying drugs and doing illegal
It's an
activity.
incredible exercise in doing more of one thing to actually achieve the opposite. This is just a shit ton of extra regulation to deregulate currency.
I mean, essentially, what the Bank of England is serious talk for a second now. What they want to do is they want to create like a big, recognized, trusted digital-only currency because the Bank of England is still thinking that like a private provider, like Ethereum or something, would create a successful Bitcoin that's beyond their control. So if they solve the problems of Bitcoin, and you know, any day now, I'm going to go back to bed for another 18 months.
If I was to start my own cryptocurrency, I would simply solve the problems of cryptocurrency. Duh.
Yeah, obviously. Anyway, I have all these Axie Infinity monsters. They're doing very well, I think. Anyway, it's time for me to go back to bed.
Rip fan crypto.
But like,
oh no, Grandpa Simpson's gotten into crypto. Fuck.
No, but like you can see what the thing is like. If they're worried that one day there will be a successful crypto asset that actually does all the things that crypto promises in its insanity that it will one day do, then they would lose control of the money supply, because then there would just be a private alternative out there.
I'm not sure. Right, I've got a slightly different read on this, Rob, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm prepared to accept you've looked into this more than I have recently in your sleep. So, like, my take on this is they're basically looking at all the money that's floating around illegally, and they're thinking, well, couldn't we be the means by which it gets cashed out, so it has to be cashed out in pounds sterling? So
it could also be that. Like,
it
can be both.
The British government just wants to be the HSBC to the drug trade, right?
Kinda,
But
like,
the crypto world.
My thinking is my thinking is it goes, okay, they do their illegal stuff in Bitcoin, then it gets tumbled or more likely run through Monero, and then it comes back into fresh Bitcoin, and then that Bitcoin, which is legally untraceable, gets converted into Britcoin, then gets cashed out into pounds sterling.
You're not wrong, but like, we already have the British Virgin Islands and a shell company in Delaware. You don't need Britcoin to like move your money through 5 different shells until it ends up clean and it buys you like a row house in Mayfair.
We've already got money laundering. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
What if United Fruit was a bit more briefcasey?
Although I really like the idea of, you remember that thing where HSBC got done for a couple of years ago, that they had like bank slots in Mexico that were extra big to accept like bigger cubes of cash from like drug cartels. But now HSBC has a slot shaped like a bored ape or a lazy lion.
No, they made it's even better than that.
A piggy bank with a hexagonal shape at the top.
The original story was fantastic, though, just for the benefit of our listeners who want to be reminded. Like, what we did is we collaborated with cartels to have bigger slots for money drops, and the cartels actually rolled up and measured the bigger slots, and then custom-made boxes, secure boxes, to put their cash in just to drop off in the bank at these agreed extra-large slots. Like, just full-on, like, business synergy taking place for money laundering. And, the crypto equivalent of that would be fantastic. Like, just really, really good. What would right? Okay, for a second, what would the Britcoin stupid gimmick like be in terms of like its symbol?
What shape is the Britcoin?
Yeah, essentially.
I'm just assuming a hexagon, so you can post with your Britcoin.
Oh man. Just get a fucking NFT of like British politicians. Like, oh, I've got the fucking David Cameron NFT. Cool.
Jesus Christ! Do you know what the funniest way for them to implement Britcoin would be? NFTs of literal pound sterling serial numbers.
There is one bit though, which is again, this is from the article of the FT, which is fantastic. One potential danger flagged previously by the House of Lords and the Bank of England is that a new central bank digital currency could increase financial instability if households and companies all withdrew money from commercial banks at once to put it into the government-backed digital pound. So, like, why would you keep your money up at Barclays if you just transferred it into Britcoin?
So hang on.
Oops! I did a run on the fiat currency by introducing a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I did a run on my own currency to chase myself into another currency.
That's fantastic. Like, so Britcoin is backed by pound sterling, but we're afraid that everyone will translate all of their pound sterling into Britcoin, which means the Britcoin is backed by
Your new cryptocurrency has the popularity of a runaway freight train. How are you so popular?
But don't worry, the Treasury has a solution for this. The Treasury has said it would initially place a limit on the amounts that could be held in the new digital wallets, even though such constraints were to reduce the digital currency's usefulness as a payment system. I'll leave the last word on this to the House of Lords, which in its report last year called Britcoin a solution seeking for a problem.
I mean, they're not wrong. That's literally what crypto has been doing since its inception.
So, Alistair, in all seriousness, in answer to your very first question, because
I would have also accepted a Rob noise as an answer. Yeah, that'll do it.
And apparently, but I can't see any really good recent news on it, is that the UK government is still planning to do UK Treasury NFTs at some point. But that news is like a couple months old. So, maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, I thought we might talk about energy, but I think we're already running long enough on time. And I'm sorry, Jamie, I know how much you love energy talk. So we'll save that for the next episode. Shall we do instead some comment or commentariat, David?
So this is a slightly longer form comment or commentariat. So buckle the fuck up.
No.
Do we still get one guess at the end, or is there like an intermission halfway through?
No, there's an essay portion to this segment.
Be right back, firing up ChatGPT.
The cause of crime is human wickedness. It is not low incomes, or bad housing, or being abused while a child, or all the other things which fashionable opinion now blames for robbery, violence, and callousness.
This is comment. No. I mean the other one. What's the other one? What's the game called? It's
Richard
newspaper guy.
Littlejohn.
Yeah.
Commentariat, Jamie.
This is a journalism.
I'm thinking commentariat Ayn Rand.
I'm not
Let's
even
go.
close to finished. The period between the two world wars is now passing out of memory, but the conditions in which millions of British people lived in those years would simply astonish those living today. Honest, good citizens
Fucking go.
This is
thrown out
this
of
is like a
work
highlight
through-
reel. This is
Honest, good citizens, thrown out of work through no fault of their own, had nothing, went hungry to bed, and endured the cold and damp and miserable slums for years on end, and they did not, for the most part, turn to crime.
brackets
In my
for
view-
the most part. Jesus fucking.
In my view, there were several reasons for this. Their generation had been brought up in the Christian religion, which is now fading away. They genuinely believed it was wrong to steal.
Justin Welby,
Crime-
the Telegraph.
Crime was quickly detected and swiftly and severely punished. An active and busy police force patrolled the streets on foot and was never far away.
This really is a greatest hits reel. Oh
This
my
is
God.
this is fucking
Judge
incredible.
Dredd, the Daily Mail.
Judges and magistrates shared the public belief that those who broke the law should suffer for it. Prisons were under the control of the authorities rather than run by their inmates. Children grew up in strong families where parents made it clear that
Citation
law-breaking
fucking
was a
needed.
shameful thing. There were no drugs.
If criminals had to suffer, did they read them this cunt's work?
There were no drugs. Alcohol was expensive.
So powerful.
Get off
Alcohol.
the fucking bus.
Alcohol was expensive and quite hard to get for much of the time. Boys had fathers. Criminals reliably went to jail for a
dog
second
whistle I can hear?
offence.
Onions were typically worn on the belt.
Comment or commentariat?
Commentariat?
Common fucking terrier.
Commentariat.
Would anyone like to hazard a guess on that? There are some very unsubtle clues in there as to who it was.
It's Rod Little or Richard Little, John. I'm going to say one of
Yeah.
those two.
Not
Roger
neither of
Little
them.
John.
Jeremy Clark. Jeremy Clarkson,
is it,
the son.
Is it what's her face in The Spectator? The
No,
Alison Pearson?
no, it is not Alison Pearson.
It's
no,
not
that
Brendan,
was,
is it?
It's
Brendan?
not Brendan. No.
No. it's
That
not
was
good.
Peter Hitchens in the Mail on
Oh, the
Oh my
daddy
God.
is back. Yeah,
I was
okay.
expecting some kind of double-barreled name, like fucking Calvin Hitler Mussolini or something like that.
Can we please not pretend that Labour can magic away 13 years of neglect as soon as they come to power just by being brave and bold?
Oh, I love expectation management, and we've not even started the elections yet.
That is truss quarteng levels of delusion. It's going to take years to repair what's been broken economically, socially, politically, and diplomatically. It will get better incrementally, not instantly.
Things will get better. Things can only
It
get
has-
incrementally better.
It has bugger all to do with being cheap and more to do with living in reality. Comment or commentariat?
Comment my fucking Twitter feed that I've been reading lately. Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm going commentariat. That sounds like something out of The Guardian.
I think it's Guardian comment section, genuinely.
I'm going to say commentariat just to be contrarian.
Yeah, commentariat.
That was comment in The Guardian,
Yeah.
and it was actually a Guardian pick.
All right. Very powerful stuff right there.
I do understand, but this isn't about poverty.
That's a
It's
very
about-
bold claim.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger.
It's
I
about
understand,
laziness.
but I understand, but makes you know that you're going to hear some absolutely sociopathic shit.
It's about laziness, is it? Well, I suppose
It's
that's
about-
better because it could have been about the lizard people that secretly control the Illuminati or some bullshit.
It's about laziness, bad parenting, and those parents not understanding or caring about their kids' oral hygiene and health.
What?
Well, that took a fucking
parents-
swerve.
If parents really can't be bothered with their kids' teeth or their health, why on earth have them in the first place? Because
Yeah,
nothing,
I only have kids for their teeth. Like that's
Well, you
the
want
value of a child is the teeth that they produce.
Yeah, you want a few
Because-
spares lying around.
Yeah.
because nothing, absolutely
One day
nothing,
soon, I'll have finished like fucking my model of a cathedral that I've been building out of child's teeth.
because nothing, absolutely
Jamie-
nothing, should be more important than that. And if it
Jamie,
isn't,
would
Is
you-
this
damn
a
well
comment
should be.
in Serial Killer Weekly?
I was going to say, Jamie, is this...
Or,
Are
or,
you-
or
are you
chat or
saying-
whatever the fuck they call it.
Are you saying that with your teeth cathedral that you are about to have a great becoming? Is that...
and before the liberal left starts screaming, this is what the cost of living crisis has reduced some families to, I'm not buying that either. Not when you can buy a pack of 2 toothbrushes brackets in Asda for
This is
25p.
commentariat.
and a tube of toothpaste for 49p.
Oh, Jesus
So,
Christ.
so for 74p, your kid's teeth would be looked after for months.
How
Comment
much
or
were the,
commentary at.
how much
Is
were
this-
the toothbrushes there, and how much is a stone that I can sharpen the handle on?
Was this not a publication, and was this Nick Ferrari on LBC?
No.
Because
David,
I swear to God, he literally
Yeah,
said the
he
exact
did
same
something
fucking
similar.
thing.
Yeah.
David is not that self-hating. Commentary.
Literally every cunt on this island has done something similar, in the past year. Just all you hear from fucking people is like, oh, the fuck, you could buy 7 pence worth of tripe and live on it for a year, like my nan did during the Blitz when they didn't have any curtains.
Commentary at Telegraph, David.
Not even Hitler stopped the bins being collected.
Is this something?
It is
this
something,
some-
yeah.
Is there like some kind of evil version of the Tooth Fairy around that I'm not aware of?
What,
Tooth
that's
Satan.
putting teeth in kids' mouths?
And charging you for it. It's called a dentist.
Yeah, dentists are just capitalist fairies, yeah.
All right, well that's my guess.
Does that mean
I'm
the
saying
Tooth
commentary
Fairy?
at still.
Hang on. Sorry, does that mean the Tooth Fairy is communist?
I mean, you have to pay them.
No, they pay you.
No,
No, yeah,
the
they-
Tooth Fairy sneaks into children's rooms at night. They're a libertarian.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Trades in body parts too, definitely libertarian.
Bet they've got a fucking massive cathedral by now, though.
Oh, right.
I mean,
Any more
I'm going to say
guesses?
this is fucking commentary.
It is fucking
And whoever-
commentary. You're right.
Whoever wrote it needs a hard drive check fairly urgent.
That was Carol Malone writing in the Express.
Yeah, she looks like the fucking type.
Oh, I would really like
Chasing
to know
her
what
kids around the
size
house
that
with
tube
pliers.
of toothpaste is.
I mean, I know it doesn't quite have the rhyme, but there is something to Carol the Teeth Snatcher that's just really vibing with me right now.
The one thing I have not heard the so-called experts say is drastically reduce your energy demand. Energy was very expensive in the
I would
1970s,
simply...
Oh, for
Oh, yeah, the
fuck's
fucking
sake.
night.
and people did
Also-
without. Today,
also-
it seems it's our God-given right to walk around the house in a t-shirt midwinter. Comment or commentary at.
Also, I have fucking heard the experts say we need to reduce our energy consumption. That's practically all they've said in terms of solutions. Fuck off.
You know what I mean? What you never hear an expert say is that you can ward off coronavirus by drinking your own piss out of a shoe. Penguins actually have invented Wi-Fi. There's no limit to the things you've never heard an expert say.
Yeah, most people
Truly,
don't
it is
know
like a
that.
fucking untapped resource of whimsy at our disposal. If we could just find a way to power electric lights from it, we'd be fucking sorted. Well done, this brave genius for speaking out.
I mean, it's true. Most people don't know
We
that,
should
like,
put them
emperor
in charge
penguins.
of Off-Gem.
Yeah, emperor penguins have like a USB-C port in their bottom, and like not a lot of people know that. But
So guesses, please.
it's fucking comment.
Commentary at.
Idiot.
How long does it take to charge? How long does it take to charge an emperor penguin?
I don't know. Do you want me to go on YouTube and ask Linus Tech Tips?
Yeah, that'd be quite useful. Fuck it. David, comment.
That was a comment. That was a comment on the BBC News website.
Have they
They should
selected
fucking
this one?
shut that thing down, quite frankly. Like,
They should.
brings us nothing but misery.
Final one. Andrew Tate is not a nice person,
Fuck me
Oh,
running.
fucking-
and I hope he goes to prison.
But
But yeah,
When the Times reports that courses for teachers on how to tackle Andrew Tate's views are selling out as schools try to persuade teenage boys to shun so-called toxic masculinity, You have to ask if we can't turn this
you
to
don't.
some sort of educational benefit. After all, the received wisdom is that you cannot teach anything to teenage boys, and yet there was Tate tapping the blackboard for attention and simply stuffing their eager, receptive little heads with toxicity.
Oh, here we go.
At a time when British schools are propping up international league tables for literacy and numeracy, mightn't it be worth getting him into classrooms? Perhaps as part of a plea deal to teach a little toxic spelling, a spot of misogynist maths, even a little inappropriate physics. Comment or commentary.
Oh, is this Sean Bean in Lord of the Rings? Like, oh, what if we could just harness like Andrew Tate and use him to like save our fucking city? I hope whoever wrote this gets shot to death by orcs.
Well, Jamie, it's funny you should say that because it has been established that one just not simply walk into Romania. So, yeah.
Walk out of Romania, I think, is more of the point, to be honest.
This feels like someone trying to be a funny cunt, who's not. Like, this feels like, someone's, like, fucking Type 5, essentially, that they're pitching and workshopping. I'm going to say comment.
No, this feels like fucking Alison Pearson. This feels like fucking
I was thinking.
Deadly.
Yeah, I was thinking
so?
Alison Pearson as well.
This is going to be some absolute fucking helmet that earns more for their column in like a week than I see in a year.
Yeah, Alison Pearson.
I'm gonna be optimistic and say that this is a spec job. This is a spec script. So, comment.
That was Giles Corran in the
Oh,
Times.
fuck off!
Ooh.
Again, I make the mistake of optimism.
Yeah, never do that in comment or commentary. Yeah.
But I do like genuinely for, would it be interesting to get the guy who's on charges of like human sex trafficking and possibly doing things with, grooming girls, etc. Should we get him in a classroom? It seems extremely
To be
British.
fair to Giles
No,
Corran
because he's
here,
busy writing for the fucking Times.
To be fair to Giles Corran, I'm fairly certain that he still thinks schools are like segregated entirely by gender. I don't think he's going to have any real knowledge of what a normal school's like. So
It's also fucking stupid. Andrew Tate didn't fucking appeal to boys. Like, that wasn't what Andrew Tate had going on. Andrew Tate's primary audience was like disaffected men in the 18 to 28
Because
range.
like fucking 12-year-old boys don't have any money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we should put them in the labour pool as well, so they can transfer their Britcoin to Andrew Tate, and that will solve everything.
Yeah, send them to work and have the boss fill out a form to say whether they're too young for work, so they can go back onto like school. Essentially, I'm sure that'll be fine.
yeah, probably.
I mean, if you were gonna take advice from someone about how to run like a sex slave scam, I would be begrudgingly taking those lessons from a guy who looks like an anchovy from SpongeBob SquarePants.
I mean, I wouldn't because like he got arrested for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to get all Donald Trump, but I don't like the guy that got arrested. Do you know what I mean?
It's like if you're gonna take advice on how to like commit crime, then unfortunately you're starting from a
Yeah,
position...
start asking in the prison. That's
Yeah.
where you'll get the best like fucking knowledge from.
Yeah, you need to get into the prison rise and grind mindset. Up
Yeah.
every morning at 6:30 a.m. in bed every night.
We're,
Lights out at 9:30.
Incidentally, by the way, we are starting a new co-joint venture with Prince Andrew. It's called Andrew U, and the course material is out of this world.
Every morning I get up and open palm slam a TikTok onto my phone. It's Andrew Tate, and I start doing the moves right alongside him.
So we'll wrap up the episode here. Before we do, though, Rob, I believe you have some charities to tell people about.
I will, and I really hope I remember this time. We will put some links in the episode description. There was a massive earthquake in Turkey and in Syria today. Thousands of people are dead, and specifically because of the idiocy of our modern diplomatic system, a lot of people are not allowed to donate or give aid to, or aid can't go into Syria, essentially, because of the civil war there, and covert international brackets, civil war, whatever. Pick your poison. So there's like a lot of aid going into Turkey, which needs it. But there are also Kurdistan, other places that need aid that can't so easily get it. So we'll put some links that we think are okay in the show description. And if you have some pennies, that will be very kind. Anyway, on to our senseless plugs of chaos and madness.
It's just the usual shit for us. Fucking patreon.com/praxiscast. Get yourself a bonus episode and get yourself access to the Discord. Twitch.tv/praxiscast, where you can see us streaming typically on Thursday nights. And also you can buy merch at praxiscast.tmail.com, and we have t-shirts and shit available there if you would like a t-shirt.
Yeah. And otherwise, go away. Bye.
Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And that's yet another episode of Podcasting as Praxis.